Welcome back, everyone, to the Flyin podcast. Sam, when's the last time that FC Cincinnati lost? This is getting just to be an unseen territory, but we're loving it. I'm here tonight with Sam. We're talking on a big FC Cincinnati win against St. Louis SC this past weekend. 3-1 victory for what, six in a row now, Sam?
Yeah, six. Just incredible. I mean, it was about time that they turned it on, to be honest with you. I know we were talking at the beginning of the season, how many draws we had at the beginning of the season, just not being able to put goals together. And shoot, we got a ton of goals this game. And we had goals in the first half, goals in the second half. Like we were scoring everywhere against this St. Louis team. So happy to see the boys buzzing, and I think they're really gelling. They're coming together. So I'm really happy to talk about it.
Last time we played them, like we mentioned in the last podcast, like completely opposite scenario. So love to see this, but a lot of goals happen this time. Like I said, 3-1, but all scored by FC Cincinnati. So a little bit of to be talked about coming up in the pod. But we're gonna do a recap of this game. We got a lot to talk about in terms of card of the week, jersey swap of the week. We have one now permanent jersey swap, I'm gonna call it, of the week. And then we're going to get into a little bit FC Cincinnati too, who just continue to roll as well. We'll do a little bit of a preview of Copa America and looking at the Olympics and kind of what the summer might look like for FC Cincinnati. And then we'll cap it off with a preview of the Toronto game coming up for this next Saturday. So, like I mentioned, 3-1 win against St. Louis, all scored by FC Cincinnati. This makes us overall now 9-3-2 on the year, technically second in the East, but again, on a game in hand, more to come on that. But Sam, going into this game, the vibes were again super high. Another Saturday night, a lot of St. Louis supporters that come in. I have family from St. Louis, nothing but love for the way that they support their teams. But don't try to march through Washington Park. That is the wrong place to do your march. And Zach had mentioned there was about 100 or so supporters for them that were trying to march through, got paraded with boos from the SC Cincinnati fans. But glad to see at least their support and they're coming, like we did for them last year. And they get the same result that, we had last year and we just smacked them. So I kind of love to see it. But any thoughts on like the pregame, the kind of build up with this? I felt like this is going to become a rivalry, like I mentioned, I think the last podcast.
Yeah, I know we'll probably touch on it a little bit later in the pod, but with the addition of San Diego, there's a possibility that St. Louis becomes a part of the East next year. So I think it'll become that secondary rivalry for sure. A lot more than what Nashville is or what Nashville wants us to be. Which I know it's honestly it's a similar scenario as far as like the back and forth of like Nashville was West, then they were East, and now they're East. Like
Right.
um it's similar to that, but I feel like St. Louis has the similar energy that Cincinnati does. And I think it just builds to the rivalry that already is between the two cities because of the Reds and the Cardinals. So you already have that bad blood between, those fan bases, and, people that are in St. Louis are probably Cardinals fans, and people that are in Cincinnati are most likely Reds fans, right? So it just carries over to the next sport. But yeah, I'm excited. To talk about like them having, the parade that they did. Obviously they were gonna get booed and stuff, but like to your point, they showed out, they showed up. I always, regardless, I mean, not really, but I'd rather see more FCC fans. But I do like seeing it packed, right? I like
Yeah.
having that energy there from the other team.
Well, and that's what
But
makes soccer or football so exciting, especially on
yeah,
the world scene, is like the rivalries or the fact that, these supporters travel for these games and it just adds to the atmosphere and it builds in the intensity. It gets us more pumped, it gets our players more excited. It's good for the game overall.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, I mean, going along with that, as we look at the lineup in this game, like you want to see a good lineup, for this game. And it comes out, that we have Roman Celentano, Oriano, Murphy, Miazga. We get Nick Haglund, back for his first 90 minutes in 225 I think, days since his hamstring surgery. So good to see Nick back in the starting lineup and playing all 90. You get Brett Halsey back, after his red card. Buka, Wobodo, and Acosta, normal, midfield. And then you have Dado and Kubo up top, which, we don't see Kelsey in this game. We don't see Robinson. So did anything stand out for you, looking at the lineups, maybe for us, maybe for them, anything that stood out for you?
Yeah, the things that immediately stood out to me was the trust that Pat has in Halsey. I think he could have easily, benched him this game to like show him like, hey, you're still being disciplined. But he had the courtesy, and I think this was a big, big move by him as a manager to show, hey, like I still trust you. Now it's up to you to play well and to earn that, that start or, that trust back. And he absolutely did. He showed out. He played really well. But I was interested to see how this pairing up top with Dado and Kubo was going to go. Because we saw last week with Dado and and Halsey, or no, not Halsey, Kelsey.
Kelsey, yeah.
Yeah, that was it worked really well because you have a hold up guy in Kelsey that can maneuver up top, play, said hold up play, and can win the headers from Celentano, off of goal kicks, whatnot, and then you have Dadu who can run underneath, right? So I thought that combination was interesting. So I wasn't sure why we didn't go with that again, but once again, Kubo's the hot hand, right? He's played well
Right.
for us all season, so it was interesting. That was interesting for me to see up top.
You look at, and I mean, you make a great point, especially with the forwards. I think Kelsey picks up an injury later on in the game against Atlanta, and I
Yeah.
don't know if that had anything to do with it. Obviously, he comes in, plays about 30 minutes at the end of the game, so he's seemingly healthy enough to play that, maybe not to start. Or does he want to spark off the bench? That's kind of the other thought. With Robinson, dealing with a head injury, you never want to, go back into that too quickly. So I can kind of see that standpoint, but. Sam, to your point about Halsey, we're listening to the radio and Pat is kind of doing his pregame conference and says, Halsey needs to learn from this moment. And he goes, he's a smart player and, we're not used to seeing him make mistakes like this. So, I think it's stressed to Halsey, like, you don't get another chance, man.
Well, I think once again, like this is why like we love Pat and Roman because they have this
Yeah.
same mentality and it's hilarious. But in that interview, you literally hear I can't remember, who it was talking to him, but it was the question was, so what, what does he need to do, in order to, gain your favor back or whatever? And Pat was like, don't do it again. Like it was
He
very
literally
simple.
said that. Yeah. He literally said, don't do it again. So, yeah, I mean, and especially in this lineup with how amazing we've been, there's no margin for error. Once you get a full roster, I mean, you have
Yeah.
to earn every minute you can get. And if you don't make the most of it, you're going to have somebody that's going to fill in next man up, right? So, as we look into the starting 20 minutes, it's a very high energy and very physical game. So, how does Nick look in this moment? How does Halsey look coming back, and trying to kind of make up for things? So, a couple things stood out for me. Obviously, St. Louis is a high pressing team. They tried to dominate physically and with that high pressure. So you get Klaus kind of coming at us. You play more direct. And I thought Hagelin did a really good job early on in negating that. I felt like Klaus was kind of a shadow compared to, and, Nick did well. At some points, it was a little bit nervy, but I think we come through kind of that stretch of like, I feel like Sam, once a game, Pat is now to the point where he goes, guys, calm down. Like they just look so excited out there to play and they try to match the energy, but sometimes they go too quick. And that happened in the 13th minute when we switch play from the left to the right. We get a really good opportunity for Halsey in space. He likes to run at defenders. He plays a quick ball into Kubo. It kind of comes up around his shin or knee level and he hits it over. But I mean, that's the kind of chances that you want to see from Halsey and from the team, kind of on a quick, counter possession moment. But that seemed to be the trend early on in this game. First 20 minutes, especially, was just high energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you expect that, right? Like we had talked about from both teams, especially after last year. But yeah, I think St. Louis, that's their style of play, right? They want to be a lot more physical and they want to dominate you that way. You had mentioned um, their big guy up top, shut him down, right? Klaus, which he likes to play physical. He's a big physical striker up top that can finish really well. And he didn't really have an impact at all, which was great to see. But yeah, the first 20 minutes, like you said, very high energy. I think it's also because, TQL Stadium is just
Rocking.
rocking, right? So everybody's just super excited. And then we get another Lucho goal, dude. 25th minute. Jeez, Pete's.
Yeah, so a break off a turnover in our own end starts with Obi. This whole game he was all over the pitch, but progresses the ball up and gets it to Dotto on the break. When St. Louis presses so high, you're going to get moments in transition to kind of come at their team.
Yeah.
So you get Dotto that's going down the middle of the park. You see Oriano's trying to run up there and catch up with the play, but you see Lucho kind of staking it out on the right side, I think, waiting for the ball. And if he doesn't get it, he's throwing his hands up immediately. But Datto plays it perfectly. He looks over, he doesn't see Oriano there. He looks right once he's closer to the box, and you see a one-on-one matchup with the reigning MVP and a young, outside winger in Pompey. So it was the perfect moment for him just to do a one-touch move around the defender. It doesn't need to be this fancy 1, 2, 3, 4. One touch around him, gets around him because he's got such a low center of gravity. It's hard for these guys to get in front of him, right? And so all the defender has to do is pull his jersey, and that's enough for the ref. He sees it. It's a PK. I mean, do you agree? PK right away.
Yeah, I mean that was a grab, right? I mean, it was a very quick grab, but it was a grab,
Yeah.
right? So any little grab like that, it's going to be a PK, no doubt. But in my opinion, what stood out to me in that play, obviously Dotto's very like precise, very like intelligent passing there. The run from Kubo though, Kubo makes the initial run in the
Mm.
middle,
Draws the defender.
wants Dotto to play him like over the top. It's not really there because Kubo's speed isn't the best.
Right.
So he's line in line with the defender, and Berkey probably would have gotten it, and maybe come off his line a little bit, but yeah, I think Kubo drawing that probably, that left center back in a little bit. So that way there was space for Lucho to create on that right side, I think was, pretty crucial. And then, Lucho does what he does. He's very, very tricky, and, it was a great move to draw the foul.
Yeah, for sure. And you get to the PK strike for the first time in, I think, the MLS this season for us, which
I
is
know.
just kind of
Crazy.
shocking.
I know.
So I'm slightly worried in the moment because they do have Roman Berkey, and he's this legend goalkeeper who honestly had a good game in this game later on, and we'll get to that. But um, Lucho hasn't missed a PK in I think like probably 3 years or 4 years. That should have been my trivia question, but knock on wood, obviously he makes it, he buries it, and from there we're off, and it really turned the first half around in some ways. We felt a little bit more comfortable in possession. Um, I think that is a good moment, obviously for us to kind of break this pressing cycle. Maybe they drop a little bit. And they don't want to give up too much, and go down 2-0, but they're still going to press. They're still going to be obviously looking for this equalizer. But that's where I think I saw more of, are we going to create opportunities? Are we going to go for that second one? That's really what we had been missing. And even games where we've been up 1-0 or one goal lead, Sam, is like putting that foot down, and saying, let's just keep scoring.
Yeah, I think, you know, to your point, we put it on right after that goal. We didn't just stop. We kept the foot on the pedal, and that showed. Oh my gosh, like this chance with the Hagelin header, and I didn't know. Like, does Dotto get anything on that chance
Oh,
in the
yeah.
29th
Yeah.
minute? Like, it looked like he did, but he didn't get enough on it, and Berkey saves it like somehow and parries it to the right.
Well, it's behind
And
defenders, so he doesn't see it
yeah,
until the last minute.
yeah, I think if Dotto gets more obviously than he did, that's a goal. And it's a
Yeah.
great like sequence right there. Unfortunately, it just didn't go our way, but we had more chances, before half as well.
Yeah. In the 42nd minute, again, another one almost felt like going into half, like something was going to happen. But Lucho has a 1-2 with Kubo. We've seen this so many different times in the last several games. Just a little 1-2 interchange between them. Plays it to Lucho, who honestly I think should have taken it first time and it would have been, bottom corner, but the ball gets kind of caught under his feet.
Yeah.
And it forces him to go down to the end line and have a tough angle by that point. In my opinion, I think he was caught between, he sees the keeper coming out. Does he try to chip him? And then next thing you know, shoot, the ball is under my foot. I can't really get it out. But yeah, it could have been 2-0 at half. I think, I don't know what XG would have shown, but I think it easily could have been 2-0.
Yeah. I
So
agree with that one. But I mean, like you said, going into half, right, we're looking good. But St. Louis makes some changes there at the half.
yeah, you get Parker coming in, an experienced defender for them. Obviously in their back line, they had a kind of we didn't even talk about it, Sam, but a rotated lineup. I mean, they didn't have Parker. Estrad didn't play. Leuven, and shout out to him and his family with what they're going through. Obviously, devastating. Hearing about his wife having cancer and him being
Yeah.
out because of that. So our thoughts are with them, but. Yeah, heavily rotated squad. Didn't quite look like the team that we had seen last year. But so was our team. We were rotated too, and like you still have to play. But yeah,
Yeah.
they bring these subs in, they get a little bit stronger. We obviously come out firing. 49th minute, we get a goal, Sam. So what do you see in this moment?
Yeah. I thought this was a phenomenal connection. Obviously, another, Lucho Kubo, right? Like you had mentioned prior to the break there. Um, my goodness, like the way Kubo turns into the ball to shield the defender off, no chance that wasn't going to be a goal. He absolutely ripped that ball into the back of the net. I thought that was awesome, but the hesitation from Lucho to find Kubo there, I thought obviously like Kubo's wide open, and I don't know what the St. Louis defense was doing. The left center back there just backed off of him. After I think was a deflected shot or something had happened before that.
Yeah,
Um,
Oriana crosses it, and
cross.
our guy
Yeah,
goes to shoot it in, deflects off their player, and falls kind of right over to where Lucho is. But if you look, Tim Parker leaves a ton of space because I don't think he expects Lucho to look in to play this ball. And
he was wide open.
I mean, props to Kubo for staying on side. The two thoughts I have, number one is you can't leave him wide open. Number two, Sam, I think Kubo's been listening to the pod because y'all have been, getting on him about his finishing. And this one, he just buries it.
Yeah,
So
you said you hear me now. You
he
hear me
said, "You
now?
hear me
Yeah,
now, right?" Yeah.
yeah.
So puts it in and just demolishes the ball. But if you go back and look at this play, I almost wonder, does Lucho do a no look pass on this?
I wouldn't be. It wouldn't be un-Lucho like, right? I mean,
He hesitates, which draws the defenders like, oh, he's going to play it out wide. And then he goes, whoop, and plays it in, kind of side foot in. And I mean, that's hard to defend.
yeah, I would. It wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised. But I thought it was really cool. Kubo celebrates with his teammates, and he asked for the ball back. And what do you know? He's expecting a baby.
His third kid's coming in August. So it was funny in the interview after the game. He says, I got so excited I scored in Montreal. I forgot to celebrate and do the celebration, with the ball as the baby. But he remembers in this moment and really cool moment for them. Congrats to the Kubos. Hopefully they're enjoying their time in Cincinnati. But Sam, as much as we get this hyped moment in the 49th minute, like we can't have any nice things, it seems like, right after we go up, 2 goals. Because just like in the Columbus game, we go up two, and then 54th minute, Miazga and Celentano kind of have this miscommunication. So um, you get the ball with Miazga, and how many times have we seen them pass through the back where it's just like they don't even think about it. They just
Oh,
pass it out
yeah.
wide and it just happens. And you don't even like worry, especially with Matt on the ball. But he just gets kind of caught between decisions. And I think he wanted to play it wide. The defender kind of steps close towards where he was playing and it forces him to play back to Roman. Sadly, Roman was nowhere to be seen. So I'm going to let you kind of shout out this Roman quote because I think it's hilarious.
Well,
Did you
yeah.
happen to see this?
Yeah, well, like I had mentioned before, Roman and Pat are very much,
Yeah.
similar people, right? And so Roman gives us very good quotes a lot of the time, or he just gives us very bland quotes. Those are it's just Roman being Roman, right? But this play happens, and unfortunately, like Ryan said, this is defender of the year, Matt Miazga, right? Just you're not expecting it. Roman's not expecting it. However, you can clearly see his body language after it goes in. He's looking at the bench. He's like, it's okay. It's fine. Like, it's all good.
No,
Like,
he goes, it's on me
not a
though.
big
He
deal.
goes, it's on me. It's my
Exactly.
bad.
He's like, not a big deal though. He's like, not a big deal. It'll be fine. Whatever. And after the game, the quote that Ryan's talking about, he said they had really no chances, so we had to put one in the net for them.
Savage moment for Roman to say they really had no chances, so we had to do it for them.
Yeah.
So in that moment though, you're kind of like crap. Like St. Louis is kind of back in this game in a way. 2-1. We're going with 30 minutes left, and Lucho's looking a little tired. We don't have Kelsey on. We get Kelsey finally on the field though, with about 30 minutes left in the game. You finally get kind of that pairing up top with actually this time Kubo though with Kelsey.
Yeah.
You get Dado that comes off. I felt like he played a pretty solid game overall, but 62nd minute this chance happens with Oriano that looked almost very very similar to a play that happens in the 77th minute. You get a little interplay between I think it was Oriano and Lucho.
Yeah, it was.
Oriano kind of comes around and leaves this. I think it was on the right side. So their left wing back just did not pick both of these moments up. And you see him cut back on his left foot both times, where I think right footed, he could have put it right around the
Yes.
keeper.
Yes. I'm
So,
sitting there thinking like this is Barry all over again. Like the man doesn't have a right foot.
yeah.
Like show me that
Yeah.
you have a right foot, and then we can talk about you possibly being better than Barry. You know what I mean? Like
It's the next step. I mean, that is the next thing that separates you. I mean, they have played, both of them had been just unbelievable for our team. But in those moments when you have to put those half chances away, like that's the difference sometimes between winning and losing. And we need to just have him put that away. I mean, he puts the shot on goal, he does everything right. Berkey made pretty good saves on it. I don't know
he
if
did.
like
He
it's
made
an
good saves. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's not an easy save by any means, but like two really good opportunities that maybe we should have scored. So Berkey makes some great saves in this half, but um Sam, at one point, I really wanted to point out that Oriano gets his 30 minutes at right wing back. Coming in, we had seen him, really more on the right side for his team in Brazil. And he apparently had been telling Pat, like, give me a shot, let me right wing back, give me a chance, give me an opportunity. And even for that second play, I mean, he's up high, he's in a really good position. I felt like he did pretty decent on that side. He just maybe seemed a little bit out of sorts because he hadn't been over there in a little while. I know there was a play later on that St. Louis has a kind of half chance on a diving header that maybe he could have stepped down a little bit faster. But overall, I was kind of interested to see how he would play there. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Obviously, him playing right wing back is a lot more of an opportunity for him to be able to cut back onto his left, possibly get a shot off or be able to play that way. Um, but yeah, interesting move. I think it's funny that he's been, telling Pat like, "Hey, like, put me at right wing, put me at right wing." Always in Pat's ear, but yeah, we
But
have
for him
a
to
whole
trust him, and for
yeah.
him to play him at that position, which he hasn't really seen him play in a competitive match, and we're only up one goal.
Yeah, like I said, Pat, I feel like took a lot of risks and a lot of chances this game, right, with Halsey and
Yeah.
changing the position of Orlando there. But like you had said, in this game, we have in the second half we have chances, right? Kelsey has a shot as well, 71st minute as well. I believe right before that though, St. Louis has probably one of their biggest chances of the match, and they just miss, and this could have tied the game. Like this was a wide open diving header, and it was just awful. It was a terrible header.
That dude had a lot of hair, Sam. That ball could have gone any direction.
So you're blaming it on the hair. You're
I'm
you're
gonna
giving
I'm
him
gonna say it's
you're
a
gonna
hair
blame it on the
problem.
hair.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a diving header. Like sometimes that's hard to steer, especially on a ball that's bouncing across. You don't know if it's gonna get deflected, if it's gonna get hit up in the air. I mean, he threw his body at it and was just hoping to get anything on it. Um, Very thankful it didn't go on goal. So, but yeah, that was really the only chance that stood out to me for them. I think they had another shot or two that was from outside that went wide, but um, eventually in the 80th minute, we had a Sergio Santos sub in for Kubo, who hopefully is going to be okay. I hope he doesn't have a knock. He's played a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
minutes, so
He looked like
he,
he was a little tight.
he was a
As he
little
was coming
tight.
off, he was
Yeah,
talking. Yeah, he
I
was
think he'll
talking to
be all
Pat,
right.
and Pat was like, "What's going on?" He's like,
Right.
little tight."
Yeah, I think he'll be all right. He's just played a lot of minutes, but Santos actually plays pretty decent in this game, has a good interplay with Oriano, who plays this ball to Lucho that cannot be, not talked about enough, in my opinion. Just the connection again with him and Lucho has just been great. We wondered how it's going to be, not having Barrial this year, but to find Lucho in that little pocket of space at the edge of the box, who plays this great ball over to Santos to just tap in. Sam, on this play, the XG for that pass was higher than the penalty kick. Lucho
That's
puts this
crazy.
ball on a platter. So for those again wondering, XG is like the expected goals, in this scenario. Lucho's pass to create this opportunity is better than a PK where you stand one on one with the goalie. It was a tap in, but just to be able to put that ball right where he needed to, past the keeper, between the defenders, and in this game he gets a goal and two assists. Again, just finds ways to contribute and get things done. So I wanted just to real quickly touch on the subs though. Did you have anything that you saw in some of their play? They had some good play.
Yeah, I thought the subs that came on. You had Assad, who came back, filled in that left wing back. Keller came in, Pinto, Santos with the goal. Like you said, Kelsey came in and dominated pretty well. But yeah, I thought they all played really well. I'm wondering because Santos came in up top, which was interesting to have Santos and Kelsey both come into the game. Usually only see like one
Right.
striker come in, but for both, that was interesting. But I wonder what this is going to do for him, right? I'm very curious because a goal like that, obviously Lucho put it on a platter, right? That's it.
Right.
If you don't score that, then you shouldn't be playing professional soccer. But with him, do you think like how much do you think this actually helps Pat looking at him as depth, as well as I believe like this should obviously scoring your goal helps your confidence, but I don't know if it changes anything on the depth chart.
Yeah, the way that the front guys have been playing, you look at Kelsey and even in his limited time comes in and just dominates defenders, holds the ball up well. I mean, his touch is what impresses me the most with being how big he is as well. So you're not going to overtake him. Dado's just played his way into a starting role, in my opinion. So we can get into that more, but you're not going to overtake him. You have Kubo who's been scoring and contributing in these moments. You're not going to overtake him. So, I mean, that's three players. You get Baird back. I mean, maybe he's fighting with Baird for that. And then you have Bupenza. I mean, there's a lot of good depth now if we can get people healthy in guys that have just been able to fill in and play meaningful minutes.
And
So
they're none of the guys that we thought were going
that
to
we
score for
thought.
us at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, yeah, and that's again just so much a credit to putting these players in the right positions to succeed. I
The
mean, I don't know
system.
if it's talked about enough in the national media that you have a 19-year-old in Dado, another 19-year-old in Kelsey. I mean, you're going to benefit from the reigning MVP being on the field, but like, who else has that many people? I mean, Miami's got some young guys, but like, it's incredible putting them in these moments and to have them as productive as they've been. So overall impressions though, I mean 6 wins in a row. We're one away from a new club record, which would just be insane to the point of like, are we even becoming better than the team than last year, Sam? I mean, I'm not completely
Oh,
sold on that thought yet, but 6 in a row now and finding ways to win with different rotations of people, younger players, less experienced players. It's just been very impressive.
Yeah, I don't know if I go that far, right? Maybe not yet,
I'm just
but
posing the question.
is that a poll? That's a Twitter poll. That's a Twitter poll. We'll see. We'll see what FCC Twitter has to say about that if they come for our throats or not. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this team has something to be said about it, right? They're one win away from a new club record. They tied, the longest streak, winning streak in club history, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So I think, you move into the impressions of this match. Like, what is this team like looking like and compared, right? I think going into the summer, as we move into the summer months,
Right.
can we keep it going? Can we keep it consistent? Because I know you had put out some stuff. We've got U.S. men's national team, roster that came out for the friendlies that are coming up. Miles Robinson obviously was on that roster, but what is this going to look like? Who else is going to be affected? As well as the injuries that we do have.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I took away, and I'll kind of get to that in a little bit here too on my thoughts and like in this game you just show like depth really more than anything in like positions where even if we're injured, guys are filling in and playing meaningful minutes. So early on in the season, that's good. You don't want to play all your cards, early on in the season and then get too gassed later on or get hot at the wrong times, if people want to call that in MLS, but like in Pat's mentality is just like try to win every game that you can. And even in this game, like with a rotated lineup, like you have the best player on the field on your team every time you play, and that just is trumping everything else. As long as you put pieces around him that he can work with, is what I would say, and be able to kind of say, hey, this is my team, this is how we do it, but a supporting cast that gets that and understands and makes everyone better. That's really what we've seen. And
it's
the
a
one, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a supporting cast where Lucho doesn't have to be 100%,
Yeah.
right? I mean, this season, for the majority of the season, to be honest with you, like he has not been 100%. He's been having to deal with lingering injuries, and the depth around him and the pieces around him have been able to pick him up, and he hasn't had to exert a lot of energy.
Is his 80% better than everyone's else 100%?
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
look at this
imagine
game.
Lucho at 100. What
And
is he pulling
and
off?
so it's crazy to me the talk about, Messi is walking around the field half the game and he's got 5 assists in the game. And it's like Lucho's playing at 80% and he's getting 3 goal contributions, in how many games now? And, a goal and assist in how many in a row? And it's just impressive to me consistently that he's able to do what he's doing and on the defensive end, which is kind of what we'll get into here in a little bit. But Sam, the first game we've had 3 goals for us since the Cavalier game, first one in MLS this season. Like you mentioned, let's continue to roll with the offense. But that's one side of the ball. The other side of the ball is the defense. And this is what I think we have just dominated the MLS this year. So our trivia question of the week has some roots in this. FC Cincinnati has given up zero point 0.8 goals per game this year, which puts us first in the league. But where does that put us versus the all-time rank in MLS history if we were to continue that by the end of the season?
So if we were to have that same number at the end of the season, where would we rank?
Correct.
All right. I'm gonna go since we're a pretty big deal right now. It's got to be top three of all time. I'm gonna go third all time.
Third of all time is what Sam says. Stay tuned till the end of the episode and we'll give you the answer. We'll be right back. Hey, FC Cincinnati fans, we are pumped to share our new sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
I'm sipping on the passion fruit margarita, which is so spicy and it makes me feel like I'm on the beach.
Ooh, that sounds great. I'm drinking the blood orange spritz, which has a great subtle ginger flavor coming from its scientifically formulated recipe to promote exercise recovery, enhance relaxation, and support a better night's sleep.
Ryan, that's exactly why I love them. Their cocktails are designed to fit seamlessly into your health conscious lifestyle, giving you the enjoyment of a delicious adult drink without the downsides of alcohol.
Guys, next time you are looking for that post-workout drink or an afternoon pick-me-up, grab a Peak Cocktail. Visit them at www.peakcocktails.com and use the code FlyingLion at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Zach, enjoy your drink. Welcome back, everyone. We are here tonight again on an up week. It's just been an up month. April, incredible. Now, May, just stacking wins. How many wins? 3 wins in like 8 days or something like that. Crazy.
To go back to what you had talked about, right? That stretch. I keep thinking about that when you pose the question after we lost to Montreal, like what are we thinking? The next 5 games, 6 games,
Right.
like how's this team looking? No shot that we thought that we were gonna go 6 wins in a row.
Well, with the teams that we were playing.
I know. Yeah, tough schedule.
And I went back and looked, and 5% of the people on that poll said that we would win, all 15 points. 5%. And I think we had some like 80 to 100 votes, on that poll. But, it just shows you in the moment you lost 2 in a row. And it's like, never doubt Pat is really what I kind of learned in that moment. But, when we look at cards of the week, Sam, I'm kind of interested to see where you went with this one. There's a lot of good. So what kind of things did you see that were a little funny or off?
Yeah, I mean, not much I'm pulling from here, but kind of taking what I saw from last week into this week, and creating a little bit of a stir and a buzz. But my card of the week is the quote unquote kings of the Midwest. Um, this season, St. Louis has kind of gotten their reality check, if you want to call it that. All of the hate that FC Cincinnati got for being wooden spoon the first 3 years, it feels like all of those new clubs that came after us are really feeling their fall off now, which is interesting to see, because they're all kind of getting that reality check as well. St. Louis will most likely, like I said earlier in the podcast, will be in the East in the near future. And then that means we're playing them twice a year. So we get an away and a home match, which should be really fun for those traveling, whether it be FC or St. Louis. But their draws are keeping them in the middle of the table and keeping them relevant. So Kings of the Midwest, more like jesters of the Midwest.
I honestly have nothing to add to that because you just said it perfectly. Like gestures, like the color scheme, you nailed it. All
Thank
of
you.
it. I love it.
Thank
I
you. A
love
lot
it.
of thought came into that. Yeah.
My card of the week was I don't know if you caught this, but the commentators just every moment they could were just saying FC Cincinnati with this lead right now because the Miami game hadn't finished. With this, win, they're going to be top of the Supporters Shield lead. And I'm just thinking, like, make a comment at least that says, but we're a game behind Miami, so even if they do get a result, which they ended up doing late on, we're still, one game possibly ahead of them in terms of points, which come on. I've said this so many times now on this show, and I think everyone is starting to pick up on it. Is like we have played one less game than them, and they have played one more game than any other team in the MLS. So you can't tell me this was a ploy for them to say, well, Miami has the better point, advantage. Look at how well they're doing. It's like, yeah, look closer. Look who they've played. Look in the summer. Check in about a month when all your players are playing in Copa America.
Yeah, that's what we keep saying, right? When everybody's in Copa America, you'll see where Miami will fall, and where FCC will be. The MLS had the article that came out today as well that was like, is FC
Who's going to
Cincinnati
overtake
going to
them? Yeah,
overtake
yeah.
Miami at the top? And it's like, yeah,
We're at the top.
probably.
We're
Yeah,
at the
like
top.
we're at the top. Like what are
Look
you
at the
talking
points
about?
per
Like,
game.
can we have one more
2.14.
game and then we'll be at the top, right? Like, do you want to hand us, I don't know if, you know, this makes any sense, but we are the Supporter Shield champions. Maybe we should have gotten, the first game of the season or something like that. I don't know. We're pretty important right now. Um, just saying. Um, but yeah, it'll be funny. Hopefully, I mean, we may end up biting our tongue, and maybe Miami continues to stay relevant because that'll be good for the MLS as a whole. But
Sam, we
not
play
right
them
now.
on July 6th, which potentially puts Argentina in, I think, the quarterfinals or semifinals
Yeah.
in Copa
Yeah.
America. So no Messi, probably coming to Cincinnati, the way Argentina had been playing, internationally lately. So For all those listening, don't be surprised if a certain, famous soccer player who's in my background actually over here is not in attendance. But let's smack them, is what I was gonna say. Is just let's put this to bed and just say like y'all are trash. Like let's just go out and just dominate them. I would love to see that. Wouldn't I mean, what are they gonna say about that? Oh well, they weren't, they didn't have Messi on the field.
Yeah, isn't there a stat out there right now that what their team record is or how many
Oh,
goals they
with him.
scored
Yeah.
without Messi compared to
Yeah.
with Messi? It's staggering.
Yeah, I mean, I look at what we would be without Lucho. I mean, as a fair comparison, though. I mean, how many of his goal contributions are part of our total goals? It's insane, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Like someone I think had commented in our comment section, and I kind of agree with them. I would love to see play outside of him, but why not ride your best player? Like, I'm not going to say I don't want him to keep scoring and assisting.
Yeah.
Like, keep doing your thing, dude. And honestly, if we're gonna have a star that's that way, like I'd much rather it be Lucho because he's always gonna be on the field. He's always gonna be fighting to be out there.
I mean, rolling into that, right? He deserves
Yeah.
his own jersey swap from now on. Okay. So on the Fly Line podcast, every single week, there is going to be a designated Lucho jersey swap just for him. Nobody can pick him. He's just already in. Like
The
he is
dude's earned
Flying
it.
Lions pick. Like he's earned it already. Like we've said his name so many times. It felt like every single week somebody had to pick him for a jersey swap. He now gets his own section.
Yeah, you guys were probably all sick of hearing it too. And it's like the dude just deserves it. We're all gonna just acknowledge that, yep, he had the jersey swap. Let's see other guys that played well in this game. It's just a credit to him. So, in this game, 1 goal, 2 assists. 14th now in MLS history with 152 goal contributions. Landon Donovan is number one with 281. Sam, I pose this question. Is Lucho going to catch that number? How high can he go? He's going to turn 30 here in about a week and a half. Does he catch that number?
Gosh, I mean, we could probably do some quick math. I'm not a mathematician here, but if you look at, Lucho's XG and you kind of work into it and you go, okay, XG, what's his XA as well, expected assists. You could also see, hey, what are we looking at here? I can't do those numbers for you, unfortunately. I just not
He's
how that
he's been
works.
averaging the last couple seasons about I think like 30 to 40 goal contributions per year. Over the next, I think he's got another 5 years in him, but I don't know if he keeps that pace.
A little over 120, right? 120
Yeah.
something.
Yep. So keep an eye on that, in the years to come. I think even though if he ages, like he's only getting better every year. Like it's just he's finding ways to contribute where you're like, well, I don't know if he can sustain it. And it's like, why am I doubting this guy anymore?
I
So
also I also think he's at the point where like you're right, he turns 30 soon. However, like his family is solidified in Cincinnati. Like I
yeah,
don't see him leaving.
he's not leaving.
That's
Yeah.
I know that's like the weird thing though is like I don't see him going to like any MLS club like ever. I don't like unless there's like a drastic fall off, which at this point there's no way
Club legend.
that
I
could
mean,
yeah,
he's,
that could
yeah,
even be
yeah,
possible.
yeah.
But yeah, I think he's got a good shot, especially if you're like, oh yeah, 40 goal comps, a season. That's I mean, it's 3 seasons right there
He'll be
that
top
that he could
five.
he could possibly, get it in. Maybe.
I think he's top five in the league. Up there for one of the best number 10s we've ever seen in the MLS. Look at this year, Sam, and we won't go into Lucho, in his own little segment here, but leads the league in assists. He's tied, right now. Chances created, he leads the league. Big chances, expected assists, he leads the league. Successful dribbles per 90, he's tied. All of these metrics are saying like he's the MVP, and we've known this. And then it comes out today he's in the team of the match day, which he's had 9 team of the match days, which is more than any other player. So I don't want to hear like again, Chicho, Messi, like are they on the team of the week every single week or as many as he's been?
Nah, nah. See ya.
Outside
Nope.
of Lucho Acosta, Sam, who was your jersey swap of the week though?
Yeah, because we were forbidden to take Lucho this week and maybe for the coming weeks, right?
Which is a good
But
thing.
yes. But my jersey swap of the week was gonna be Kubo. Kubo has 4 goals in MLS play this season, which he actually has tied the amount of goals he had in the previous 4 seasons with FC Cincinnati. So he's already tied the amount of goals that he had for FCC. He's showing signs of actually the numbers that he put up as far as XG wise as a young player with young boys in Switzerland. So he's going back to being that threatening attacker that he was in his younger days. And so far this season, he is having the most accurate season with shots on target that he's had in his whole career. He also, I didn't realize this until you're looking up stats. He's also first on the team in tackles by 7.
As a like mainly a forward,
Yeah.
but right back,
Yeah.
but center mid.
He's got 36 tackles this season.
Wow. That I mean, he's just been unbelievable. He's had unbelievable year. Kubo just continues to find ways to be Yuya Kubo and contribute and just do the little things, really is what it is. I didn't realize 4 goals is the total amount compared to the last several seasons. That's very fascinating, but he's back in a more normal position for him and what he's comfortable with.
Yep.
And he has built a sustained connection with Lucho, which leads to he's going to benefit from that, absolutely. But more than just being a poacher is he's contributing in the attack. One of the things that I had commented on in the last podcast, Sam, was how fluid the front three can be. And in his post-game conference, Pat says, I really love that Dado, Kubo, and Lucho can all interchange in those positions. And I said, thank you, Pat. Thank you.
He's listening.
He's listening. Like, it's just so perfect that, you can have guys that press or to help back on defense. Like Kubo can go back and help in defense, but can play up in the press, can interchange with Dado. I mean, those guys are so comfortable and it makes it so hard for defenses to keep track of. Is Lucho drifting out wide? Is Dado playing in the middle? Are they running behind? I mean, that is what makes it so challenging. Even if you don't have a traditional hold up striker, is just fluidity in movement. And we lacked that very early on in the season, which now we've done so well with.
It's fluid. It's fluid.
It's Man City-esque again. We said it, champions of the Premier League 4 years in a row. That was a side note there. Sam's rocking the jersey tonight too. Again, don't hate us for that take. But jersey swap of the week for me was Oriano, just in his ability to play on the left, to play on the right, to again contribute in ways where he's getting a hockey assist for the Lucho pass to Santos. So I'm gonna credit him for that one. The dude missed 2 goal opportunities to score, but next time he's not going to miss that. I'm waiting for an absolute banger from him from outside on a free kick, Sam, or just a long volley, because he's been really close. And then this game, I don't know if you saw it, they played another corner to him on the back post that he hits into the ground. But one of these days, it's going to be a Barrial 2.0.
Once a game, right? It's got to be once a game. And I will say that is a note. I don't know if you noticed or whatever, but the corners from Lucho this game
Great.
we're actually pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, pretty good. No, I agree. I agree. Um, Another thing that's pretty good, Sam, FC Cincinnati's second team right now. Unbelievable run for these guys. Yeah. So 4-1 win against New York Red Bulls 2. The famed
Killing
New
them.
York Red Bulls academy or second team. 5 wins in a row now for FCC 2, which puts them in third in the East. They've been playing out of their minds, and a lot of what comes down to this is Stefan Schirilla. How many times, he's got a brace in this game and an assist. Sam, we've been asking for it for several weeks now. He just signed his homegrown contract for FC Cincinnati. He's got a pro contract for FCC2. we're finally like making moves to keep this guy around long term. And I think he's at like 46 goals on the season in like all his competitions, which is just insanity. He's at I think team of the match day for the next Pro 2 weeks in a row now, if I'm not mistaken. So he's coming really, into his own even at the pro ranks. And starting to get close to training with the first team is the rumor right now. So pretty cool to see.
My goodness, this man Stefan. Oh my gosh,
Are we
like
spoiled by youth right now?
I, I I love it, man. I absolutely love it. This is the dream, right? You want to see the first team doing well. You want to see the academy doing well. You want to see the second team doing well. We're building the future. That's what you want to see from your club. Um, and
Like
it's
playing
just
FIFA
exciting.
and
It's
like
absolute, yeah. It's
growing
FIFA come
these
to
young
life.
guys.
It's FIFA come to life, right? You're building through the academy. You're signing these guys, and gosh, I mean, I'm so happy that we manifested it, right? We talked about Stefan. They heard us and they signed us after, or signed him, after hearing us talk about it every single podcast. Because this man, he continues to score. He's a scoring machine. But yeah, I think also, I know you wanted to shout out, but uh, Daly as well. I
Yeah.
mean, my goodness. I mean, how many? He's got a decent amount of assists as well.
Yeah,
He's been
he's
on the
got I
back
think a
end of
couple
all those
goals and
Cirilla.
assists. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this game, again plays well. He's an outside winger that I think is honestly pushing his way towards more training sessions with the first team.
They all
Not,
are. They all
oh
are. They're
yeah,
playing really well.
yeah, absolutely. So, but tying into kind of my next topic, keep an eye on, the FCC 2 team, but is looking at Nico Benalcazar, another guy who plays for FCC 2. He was an NYCFC guy who had gotten a couple minutes actually with the first team last year that we somehow pulled over to our, youth team, has been training with the first team. And in my opinion, it's all in setup for preparing for Copa America and the Olympics. So, this topic has, I think, come to my attention here more recently, especially today with what we kind of were expecting. Miles Robinson gets the call up for the U.S. men's national team for Copa America in this tournament where we play the likes of, in Uruguay coming up, at least in our league. I think we have, I can't think, honestly, the other team in our group right now, but you could be potentially playing the likes of Argentina down the road or Brazil.
Brazil.
And
Yeah.
to see, I think Miles and then Timothy Tillman from LAFC was the only other MLS player. So just credit to Miles. I am a little worried, and I mentioned this to you the other day, but with Miles possibly being on this roster and making the roster, he'll potentially be out for 7 games from June 15th to July 13th, which would be a big loss, but we did it last year. We did
Uh,
fine.
we'll be
But
hey,
look at the defensive replacements that we have.
we'll be fine. We'll be fine. I mean, you were gonna mention we got Kip Keller. We've got Haglin, who's back as long as he doesn't play on turf, he's fine. And then, like you had just mentioned, you got Benalcazar, right? However the heck you pronounce it.
Benalcazar.
Yeah, Benalcazar. I don't know. But like you had said, these guys that have experience that we have in our FCC2 team, right? That
Yeah.
have first team experience, somewhere else. Um, I think it's beneficial. I think, with the likes of Halsey stepping up in the back as well. You've got Powell, who hopefully he becomes a lot more healthy during the summer. He's played center back. He's a bigger outside back, so he's able to play that center back position. So I think we'll be fine. Obviously, there's gonna be a drop off, especially when you have the high quality player in Robinson. But
Right.
come Copa America, come Olympics, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, and as long as he is, I mean, he's going to be practicing at such a high level with these guys, even if he's not playing in the matches, I would love to see that, but he's keeping his fitness up. He's
Yeah,
hopefully playing in meaningful training sessions. Maybe it's not games, I would love for him to play in these big games, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I love the fact that we can actually like watch these games too and say like that's our guy,
yeah,
like last year with Miazga and Vasquez, like it was really cool to see them, through the U.S. tournaments that they were in. But the other tournament, coming up is the Olympics. And the big question will be, the Olympic roster is all under 23 men's players, which is not like any other sport, in the Olympics, but it's more of like a U23 tournament. You get three guys on your roster that are older than 23. And there had been some rumors if we look at, a Roman Celentano, do we look at a Matt Miazga? Matt certainly helped his case to not be on the team this past week, Sam. He was like, you
I
know
mean,
what?
hey, come on, come on.
Yeah.
You're cutting the guy at his knees, right? He makes one mistake and now he's not on the Olympic team. I mean, come on now.
I
I think
just we
honestly, can you imagine a Matt Miazga going to the Olympics? I'm just envisioning a whole training session on him teaching the youth and going, all right, this is how you get into the mind of
of
your
the opponent.
opposition. Yeah, nice little training session. Listen to Matt and his,
No, no, no.
craziness.
I have a better scenario.
Hit me.
You're walking out for the opening ceremony, and Matt's already throwing shade at the other soccer players of the other teams. We're like, Matt, this is the opening ceremony. We're all here for a good time. Matt says,
So
we're here to
fun fact. This could play a twist in it. The opening ceremony in Paris is going to be on the water.
win.
Does Matt have some fun with the other Olympic teams and with playing with the water aspect of it? I mean, there's so many scenarios. Well, I
I don't
mean,
think he's
we're
going to make
vying
it.
for him. We're vying
I
for him. He
I
needs to
don't
be on
think
the
that
squad.
he is not. Yeah, no. I would love to have Matt Miazga through the stretch, especially if Miles Robinson is out. As cool
Selfish.
as it
You're
would be for
selfish. You're
him,
selfish.
but I mean, if you were asked to play in the Olympics, though, you would go, right?
Yeah, I would go.
100%. If you're representing your country, absolutely. But right
Get to
now, it's
bite a gold
looking
medal, of
more.
course.
I mean, I saw a projected look at it, and they said Schulte, who is under 23 from Columbus. You actually did have Walker Zimmerman was a shout to play, which we play Nashville coming up. So go ahead, take him.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
but we'll see.
You
So
already know Ochoa's playing for Mexico. He's like 40 years old. He's gonna be playing for Mexico in the Olympics.
Ochoa will probably play in the next five Olympics, Sam. Let's be honest. He's been playing in every one since 1903. Um,
I think it's hilarious just watching him like during those events. You're just like, wait, well, I thought it was all young guys, and
yeah,
it's Ochoa every single Olympics.
yeah. So something to look out for. Like I said, coming up. Props to, again, Miles Robinson for making the U.S. team. But as we move on to match day 15, so our preview for the Toronto away game, Sam, this is going to be a really, really good game. Toronto's been playing well. They're fifth in the East, 5-0-2 at home this year. So they've been really good up north of the border, but they just beat Montreal 5-1. And part of the winning 5-1, I kind of found this fascinating, was our guy, if you want to call him our guy, our rival, Bernadeschi, let's bring back Ray Gaddis to do the call on this game.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say a Ray Gaddis and Tommy up top.
Ray Gaddis might have to walk down to the field and separate some players, but this is what I was going to say. Bernadeschi is out of this game on yellow card accumulation. So will Ray Gaddis and Bernadeschi meet in the back hallways of the Toronto Stadium?
Hey, Ray, how you doing? And Ray was like, "Hey, I've been praying for you. Um, hope you're doing well."
Reverend Ray, love the guy. Anyway, yeah, I think that we've been the best road team, in the MLS this year. 5-1-1. We won the Supporters Shield in Toronto. Does Herdman in Toronto say, hey, they just beat us, on our soil and won a trophy here? Let's come out and play these guys tough. It seems like, yeah, like I mentioned, Herdman, the new coach for Toronto this year, who was the Canadian coach, has them playing pretty well. I'm interested to see, does Yonder Yedlin return? Do we get a healthy Miles Robinson back in this game? I'm hoping, that we get Kelsey back starting. I think he'll be back there, especially looks like he comes out of this game without a knock or anything residual. And the biggest thing, I was gonna just mention is I feel like Dado's earned his time.
Who do you start up top then? Because Kubo has to start. Kubo has to start. He scored last game. However, he did come off for an injury. So I
It
will
would
give it
depend
to you.
on his
I
health,
will give it to you for that. You may see a Dado start because of the Kubo injury.
right?
However, where do you everybody's healthy. Where do you put Dado?
Everybody's healthy. I think, like I said, he's earned it next to Kelsey right now. And
So where do
then,
you put in Kubo?
well, I think if you get a super sub off the bench with him,
Wow. Wow.
well, would you start him over Yedlin at right back?
No. No.
You'd probably start him over Dado then.
God, I don't know. I was just asking you the questions over here. What do you mean? What do you mean? No, I think it's a tough shout. I think, both players have been playing very well. I would give Kubo the edge
Yeah.
just because he has showed,
Experience.
yeah, well, not only has he showed the experience, but he's put away more goals, right? He's put away those
Sure.
chances more. Dado's been effective, but he himself has not, led to, more shot creating chances.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And playing on the road, especially, like you're gonna come into a little bit of a hostile environment. Um, I think it'll be a really good game, and it won't be a super high scoring game. I'm gonna go 2-1 for us in a win. But I would love to see Miles come back in this game. Yedlin at least get some minutes off the bench. Maybe if you do have a healthy Kubo, is he able to play out wide? Who do you play at right back right now? Or right wing back, I should say.
I mean, if Yedlin's back, you got to pay him. I don't care what percent you have him at. If he's ready to go and he's healthy,
Yeah.
I think you play him and you start him. But you got to go Halsey if not, and then bring in Yedlin later on in the game.
Yeah, I think it'll really depend. We'll see, as we are recording this now on Monday night, Tuesday, for the training session, do we see Yedlin back out there or not?
Yeah.
If you look at FOTMob, because FOTMob tells all, the injury reports are always fascinating to see. Like it always will estimate middle of June for a return for them. And it's like, I don't know how they get that information other than like what the
I
suspected
guess.
injury is and then how long that typically takes. But like, Fat knows the lineup before, they tweet it out. So there's something to that, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't
I don't know.
know.
But what was your prediction?
My prediction, I'm gonna go 1-0 FC. I agree with you. I think we make it 7 in a row, club record. But I think it's gonna be a 1-0 victory.
All right. Well, anything you wanted to add, we'll kind of cap this episode off.
Good. Give me the trivia answer.
Trivia question and answer. So again, FC Cincinnati has given up zero point 0.8 goals per game this year. Where does that put us all time in rank in like MLS history? And again, this is kind of projecting, if this was at the end of the season. Right now, we're first in the MLS, but this actually would put us at fifth overall in all time. And I think you said third. Is that correct?
I did. I said third.
Yep. So the top team, I was gonna kind of pull it up here and state this. It was kind of fascinating. I think it actually was Real Salt Lake in 2010. They had played 30 games, gave up 20 goals, and that was 0.67. But we would be fifth right now all time. So this defense has just been playing phenomenal. And even with some rotation, different players it's been, not always the same group too, and different
And
wing
with
backs.
3 different goalkeepers.
Yeah, yeah, true. I mean, so there's a lot to be said about that. It's pretty impressive. So the one last thing I wanted to comment on, we didn't get to talk about it, was Paul Walters got called back from Hartford. We were speaking about goalies on
Yeah.
his loan. So where
Weird.
does that put us with our keeper situation, Sam? Do you think that we see an Alec Can transfer in the summer window, and that's why we brought Paul Walters back? Or
He's on the last year of his deal, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he signed maybe like a 1 year renewal.
Yeah, because I think Loro has one more year after this because I think he signed a 2-year extension, if I
Hmm.
remember that correctly.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I mean, he's a valuable piece. He could definitely be a starting keeper for a squad in the MLS. So I mean, that's a good shout. Either that or, we'll probably trade him for some TAM allocation money, whatever you want to call it. Could be a possibility as well.
We'll see what happens in the future, but thank you everyone for tuning in. Like, subscribe. You can find us on all socials. We'll be reporting probably a ton during this week about the upcoming game, and we'll see you guys next week.